back for another episode of Sanctum of Stability. I believe last time we had some interesting events happen. Two of the party members talked to the hags. I think you guys talked to present and past. Yeah, present and past. And I believe Axe caught himself, what was I calling it? A mind reaver or something like that?
Yeah.
Wrote it down somewhere.
Something along those lines.
This is the...
I'm pretty sure it's Mind Reaver.
That is why we lost all that stuff. It's in the wrong notes. Ah, here we are. I found some names that we lost.
Ah. Also, your microphone's live for your thing, right? Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Since you've had that issue a couple times. All right.
Yeah, EB bouncy, 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 bouncy.
Good. Oh, yes, that's right.
Oh yeah, I messed up on some names. Real bad. Okay.
Just doing an addendum at the start of the thing.
Yeah. Well, it's because I lost those notes and then I found where the notes were. The mind taker. No, we don't talk about mind takers. They take too many minds. Anyways, so I believe we were going to you guys had all met back up and you were going to head back to the... I'm not eating my notes. Bad chat. But you guys were all going to go back to the base, if I remember correctly? Or the Coburn State.
Yes, I think so.
Which is gonna be fun. Because you're going to get a note from Betty explaining everything that's going on. She got pulled away to go handle stuff back home. So you guys will have a note explaining that the Mothman has been tipped off to Asenath's identity. And that he requires to talk to you about some business. Which to you guys seems a little weird, because the Mothman was an incoherent beast man, so... And that he's in the cellar. And that's what you come back to sitting on the kitchen counter. No Betty in sight.
Oh. It's
Very sad. Forever missed.
So guess I'll...
I mean that legitimately, by the way. That's not a joke.
Yeah.
We'll actually be missing Betty.
Yes.
I'll go downstairs and see what's up.
Do you guys all go downstairs to talk to the Mothman?
I'm in just a moment. I'm still in the kitchen.
Yeah, you're making food and it smells good.
Good, just to torture you.
There's an old Irish phrase. May God turn the knees of those who hate you, so you can know them by their walk.
The thing in this case is, I actually need food before my timer is up for my intermittent
yes.
fasting. So I need to get something in me right now, otherwise I won't be able to eat it all.
Yeah. And sadly enough, I, like most storytellers, get to enjoy the lovely deficiency of not having two mouths, one to orate with and one to eat.
Yes. Alright. I am back fully. Apologies.
All cool, all cool. I just took it as a second to grab my medicine. So, are you guys going down to the basement? Yay, nay?
Yeah, I'm in.
Draven? Draven. He's not muted. He's not deafened. Now he's muted. Now he's unmuted.
He's working on microphone issues. Are you double muted? Are you muted on your microphone in person?
Oh, technical issues. More water.
If you are still experiencing issues, try restarting Discord. Sometimes a swift kick to the kneecap is what takes it getting back to you.
Ah, that's what we're calling that appendage down there, the kneecap. Okay. So while you're fixing that. Okay, so you guys all go down to the basement and you see a fairly regal looking fae sitting in a chair and sipping some tea while reading over some of the old books before looking up to you all and going, "Ah, I see you guys have returned." Betty had to leave, it seems.
Indeed.
Some strange being came to collect her.
I'd like to add one thing onto that letter. I would say that her code word was on there.
Yeah.
That way we know it's legitimate.
Yeah.
And we don't have any weird questions for the Mothman of the missing Betty.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, interesting situation has brought us here. May I ask for an introduction of yourself?
You just see the Fae look at you a second and go, fairly clever. Smart. Not asking for my name, not making demands, just asking for an introduction.
Better way of asking.
Yes. Well, depending on who you ask, determines what my title is, but you may call me Florence. It's what I usually went by on this plane when I was dealing with people before our current situation. I don't know how much Betty has told you, but this war is more than just a vie for power in the Feywild, but to ensure I am unable to regain my throne. A throne in which is connected to my father, who, being you're the only Draconian in the party, I presume made a deal with one of your ancestors.
Would you mind explaining? I'm curious on that one. I'm unaware of this arrangement.
Yeah, I would presume you would be, being there hasn't been somebody to take up the mantle of the moon in a very long time in your family. Most of your kin seem to be solar, very few are umbral, and very few seem to be lunar. On top of it, most of you have not had dealings with the Fae since my brother had pushed me out after my father's demise. The last dealings, I believe, was... what was his name? Parth, I believe. He just so happened to have a brother, and they ventured in, and that's the last I heard of anything from the Belmonts. So it's been a very...
That be the maker of the spellbook I have?
Yes.
That's an out-of-character question to you.
Yes, it would be. So.
Alright. That was the last one. That seems to be the last magic lineage in my family, and tell me.
All things happen for a reason. Could be most of them just trained themselves
Fair.
to be warriors and never looked at their magical capabilities. It's common amongst families of hunters to eventually go one way or another. Usually they go towards the physical, and then when they need the magical, they end up dying out, or the ones that go towards the magical tend to die out quickly, it seems. Too many creatures are more of a physicality in which magic can't fully deal with.
Interesting.
Yes.
That you would know my ancestor's name.
Well, yes.
No, I just never figured that would come to fruition from someone who's still living.
He was the last one that I was able to talk to and get help from. Being he never came back, I would presume that things did not go so well.
I would assume so. I have a question for you. This is rather interesting. Did Parth have a brother that you know of?
Yes, him and his brother went in, as well as Old Man Colburn did as well.
Victor looks up at that revelation, like the moth creature mentioning his ancestor.
Well, technically his grandfather.
Right.
Yes, technically Old Man Colburn and his brother went in, and the old man came back, and the Wellerman kept on showing up, but his brother was never around. Whether when I was coherent or not. I presume something pretty bad happened in there.
Heard the Wellerman a couple of times, and I'm getting to be a little interested in this person, but from what I understand, it's a mantle, so I would say the specific rendition of this person, or this specific incarnation.
Dwellerman is the title in which the entity goes by even when making deals with people. He has always been very evasive of sharing his name. Much like how elves on the mortal plane are fey cousins, Dwellerman just so happens to be a fey cousin from the plane of water.
Good.
He's very interesting and has been across multiple planes of water and has been opposing entities that wish to take and conquer all of the sea and the water. His whole concept is freedom, love of the sea and life, and just enjoying adventure. I presume you guys have seen the ship outside of town?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Was that the Wellermans?
It was one of his fleet, yes.
Interesting. It's weird that it's so far inland.
Yes. He... We wanted to sit here and make sure he got back to where he was from. Me, the Wellerman, and all that.
The tree spirit wanted to go home.
Yes. Because, sadly enough, despite his powers to reanimate the dead and use them on the ship to help keep the living alive, he could not reanimate himself. So upon his death, he wanted to return to his grove and eventually, potentially, return the life back to the grove in which he was bestowed upon. The Wellermen in that time ended up sitting here and having a fleet of treants.
That's rather interesting. Was that treant a Wellerman, or is that treant just a treant?
He was just one of his captains. Part of a fleet that he was making to face against some entity. It's not often that I forget names and faces and that it becomes blurry. When it happened, we posed some questions to our father, and he didn't exactly give us straight answers, but I gained the knowledge by coming to the material plane and asking around. I presume that what happened is a Skald ended up making the ultimate sacrifice and stricken his name and the opponent of the Wellerman's name away from history to prevent the horror from being able to, well, wreak havoc and take over this plane.
That's, I'm feeling that way about, Parth Belmont's brother as well. I've been unable to locate a name, even in Parth's journal. He just refers to him as brother constantly.
The Fae kind of looks up to the ceiling a moment and is like, no, that's... The entity is still here. He still exists.
I'm feeling that his name has been stricken as well, but he still exists, if that makes sense.
The Skald's ultimate sacrifice doesn't just take the name and face from history, it takes them. They don't exist. Them and the thing they're trying to defeat, and can defeat by using this right, cease to exist, and to have existed. So, the factor that I can still sort of sense him means that he is not stricken in the same way. It might be part of whatever might be plaguing him.
Gotcha. Also, I do have in my notes Simone Belmont. I don't know if that was the original Belmont of the spellbook or not.
No.
Or if that was the Maw.
That was the name that you did connect to the Maw.
Okay.
Because it was noted like way early on, but everything talking about the Maw seemed to be separate but very similar.
Gotcha.
I think I had you do like a sense motive or something and you had passed.
There we go. Now I will mark that down in my my notes so I can make sure that I have it correct. But
yeah.
Brother is Simone. Simone something Belmont, from what I understand, is the other thing. So. No, I'm curious of what happened to what is being referred to as the Maw of the Abyss at this point, or brother.
Are you saying this to him?
Yes, I'm finding him to be trustworthy enough, so
The Maw of
he
the
knows
Abyss.
of the Belmonts. So
The Maw of the Abyss. That's interesting. What is this Maw of the Abyss?
Is it dark in this room? And we're not in sunlight, obviously.
Yeah, you guys are in the cellar, so.
Yeah. If you'll not mind, Ma, do you mind coming out?
You kind of just see his eyes in your shadow for a moment. And Florence kind of just looks over a second and looks at you and is like, okay. This complicates things.
A little bit, yes.
So Parth is no longer around.
All I have is a journal. I am not sure if he's passed or not. I would have to go look for his gravesite. And even then, there's no saying that they've even found a body and returned it back to the gravesite.
That means that Maw of the Abyss is Simone?
It is.
Which means my brother furthered the power of the curse. Okay. This changes things.
Do you mind explaining? I'm curious on what's going on with that as well. This is a very interesting situation to come stumbling into. You understand?
Yes. Parth was called the Nexus because he held all three bloodlines. He was the first one in your bloodline in a long time to do so. Technically, he was one of the lords under my father. Until he died and my brother stripped titles and cast people out and tried to cause as much chaos as possible. Then he cursed the region to only be able to have moonlight and cursed me to where I would be a moth under the moonlight. What it appears to be is, since Simone was a lunar draconian, he turned him into a shade of his own self, stealing his power might help further the power of the curse.
So what I'm understanding is your father's gone at this point?
Has been for a very long
Okay.
time.
Sorry, I missed that a little under some of the other information.
Yes, technically I was supposed to gain the kingdom, but my brother was plotting things as my father was ill. So, it's caused a few issues. Then by the time I knew of the plans and could try to counter them, I apparently sent people in to potentially have a worse situation.
That's interesting. So Parth was the Nexus. Simone was with him and was cursed with being a shade.
Yes.
Let me write that down. Cursed with being a shade, and that's by this Florence's brother, right?
Yep.
You said that your brother is very lunar focused. So he has a weakness to solar light, sunlight?
No. How to put it? Our court is of the moon. And as such, that's where our power comes from. He tends to be more of the deception and illusions and trickery of the moon. Some more based off of the reflection. And refracting things in whatever way he can to try to control it.
If I may make an assumption, I would assume that you're based off of the different phases of the moon, meaning like crescent, a new moon, and a full moon.
My curses, yes.
Okay.
At my usual apex of power, I am a helpless beast. So, it makes it hard when your brother decides to keep it as a full moon all the time in your kingdom, then. Means you can't even enter. So, what we're going to probably have to do then is I need you to become one of my lords, so to speak. It's been a while since Faye has taken a mortal as a lord, so this is going to go over well.
Sounds like you have a seat open for that as well.
Plenty of seats if I do take over, like I'm supposed to. No doubt he would have chosen champions and lords himself. But being that I am contesting for it and cannot enter, I can send in a lord and a champion of my own choosing. The problem is they have to be kind of finalized on the... what do you mortals use for the word? Not a coronation, the ordainment of your title and that.
Yeah.
Which means you'd either have to sit here and do such at my palace, which will no doubt be under lock and key, or knowing the entire situation and how much evidence you clearly have here.
Yeah, he pulls the card out of his sleeve to show one of the mind flayers.
Oh. You have a mind reaver, doppelganger.
Yeah, sorry. Mind Reaver.
Interesting.
Yeah. Turns out we found a little bit of evidence on an incursion upon the mortal realms.
How comfortable do you feel about talking to authorities and potentially a queen with a large military?
You know, surprisingly, titles don't seem to bother me that much.
Good, but do remember a bit of respect of her position. She is known to change positions very quickly. Hopefully you'll meet her as either the crone or the maiden. If not, then this is going to be very bad.
I'm a gambling man.
And that's what we're having to do.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Raven Queen.
Yes. Which,
So,
ironically enough, she has access to large moonstones that help keep her city afloat and help produce the crops in her kingdom underneath her floating city. Being you need the light from one of those to finish the ordainment and to begin the metamorphosis of the champion that you choose, it means it might be a good idea to talk to the authorities. Means I'm going to have to owe her a favor, but it might be about time to do that.
I understand my bloodline in the situation, but is there any specific reason for me being a lord? I don't wish to refute you, but I am curious why I would be chosen. I don't feel like I am the best choice.
You're a Belmont, and the first one I've met in hundreds of years. I kind of don't have any other option. Furthermore, you're a mage, you're lunar. Less likely to get refuted by the court.
Fair.
Most of the nobility in my court are going to sit here and see that as a prestigious thing anyways, so it's kind of beneficial.
Almost all of my family members are almost all gone. The Belmonts have lost their presence in the mortal plane.
Which makes this even more of a dire situation.
Yes, I'm possibly one of the last and the only spellcaster in my family that I know of. So on that note, I don't think there is another option.
Yes, and on top of it, I do owe a secondary thing anyways to someone in this room. I might have made a deal with someone's grandfather that their family would have a seat as well once I get my court back. Despite the fact that he did not succeed, I can waiver a few things, being it is technically usually denoted to the next of kin when a deal is made. Some loopholes that I didn't care to tie up.
Victor just kind of lets that knowledge wash over him. And within seconds, the impact of what he is hearing kind of hits home. Because he knew his grandfather was involved with the fairy courts. He's done things and he's worked with them. And honestly, the relationship that he's had with Florent for who knows how long. And it just kind of clicks and makes sense. The only Coburns that I know of that are left are my mother, father, and a sister. Your brother got my twin and sent someone back in her place.
Well, that can also be a bit of a mess, too. Depending on what he might have done to your sister.
Yeah, there's so many choices and so many paths, and her abduction is one of the things that set us here.
It also
I have
means we have a bigger problem.
I have a hope, but it's a small one.
I also hope he doesn't know about my deal with your grandfather. Because if so, he might be going for illegal usurping by trying to marry a Coburn, which would then be possible for taking a seat in the court. And between that and him being my brother, it would solidify his claim even further, being I can't enter the realm.
Curious. So, this is entirely Fey politics. I'm
Yes.
curious on exactly what the plan is from your side. So, we go in, we talk to the Raven Queen, we work with her, and hopefully she grants us a crystal. I'm raised to a lord of your court, and then we move from there as a legal correct right of usurping your brother.
Not really usurping, more of technically taking down a tyrant that wrongfully took over. That's already going to be a blemish that they're going to be angry about. Also depends on if he's got any allies either, because they might move
Guaranteed.
for things.
I would assume that he does have allies and others, but regardless, this works into what we wanted to do, because our intent is to go and speak possibly to the Raven Queen about the about them coming into our realm. Do you know if this this incursion is caused by your brother, or is this something else?
This is most likely my brother again. He's been
Okay.
doing this to try to use the nature magic from the ley line to extend the curse permanently and extend it to this land. So basically, I'd have no way to get back near my country to the Feywild. I'd have to go to hostile territories and risk being seized, killed, or similar things by the other courts.
Understood. Oddly, out of character comment. I was confirming something I kind of already knew out of character.
Yeah. Yeah.
That and powering things with the nature. Yeah. So we have a tyrant to take down. And that works in our favor because we are here specifically working with someone to handle the Fey incursion in this area, which was the main tip-off. There just so happens to be an Earth cult in the area as well that needs to be handled. But one of these things seems easier to handle than the other, oddly enough.
Yes. So that's what those strange folk over near the mines were?
Yes. From we understand, the Earth cult wants to have the ley line for nefarious issues of... Not entirely sure what they want to do with it, but problems.
pretty much destroying their opposition and becoming the dominant and most powerful element. Which, the reason why the Fae prefer to stay out of that is because it's just a big mess, but also there's an old order that used to take care of it. I know a few of their members are still kicking around.
What was the name of this order?
Depending who you asked, they once went by the Knights of Neutrality, the Knights of Balance, the Knights of Order. They were also known as Grey Knights when people were trying to color code each of us. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the Sanctum of Stability for a moment there.
Sanctum of Stability. Is that a newer faction?
My understanding.
Would be hilarious if there's connections.
Do I know of that situation? Because I remember this place being taken, etc. And there's a like anti-teleportation thing on the Sanctum, etc.
You know that stuff. You know that it was given to them by. I think I called them. Yeah, I think I called them by their name during that, which is Damascus.
Yeah.
Not their new name. Fun times.
I definitely recommend. I definitely understand that one. Or sorry, I've heard that one. I should say. That one was definitely a ping on the radar for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a sanctum given by a person named Damascus, which you might recognize.
Damascus. Oh. Vaguely sounds familiar.
Yeah.
The Great Black Worm? Might be the Great
That
Black
one
Worm.
doesn't ring a bell, but... Wait, no. Do we know that? Or is that something I know out of character? Because I recognize that, but I don't remember learning about that in character.
I think Lycos had told us that he and his order had kind of given the Sanctum their old headquarters and built the Sanctum out of what was left of their order.
Yeah, I remember that. Does Lycos ring a bell?
Yes.
So from what I understand, Damascus and Lycos are allied or otherwise, and they provided the Sanctum of Stability, an old hideout, which is seemingly in between worlds.
Huh. That old place is probably falling apart, isn't it?
Didn't seem like it.
There was a war that happened there. Perhaps
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys about it sometime.
It'd be interesting. We're if you recognize Lycos, that's the whole reason we're here.
Everyone in the Feywild courts and in most of the courts of any of the planes know of the Northrend.
Yes. You're familiar with him, and I owe him a favor, and I am working on that favor currently.
You owe a half-god a favor.
Do you want to know why I owe him a favor, or do you want to leave that alone?
I'm more worried that you owe a half-god a favor.
As long as it doesn't leave this room, I will tell you exactly what happened. Not that I believe that you would have any reason to tell anyone, but my aunt happened to die, and I requested that he stop that process before it was finalized. The Belmonts steal the dead, and after a certain period of time, you can't bring them back.
Oh, I know. I'm familiar with it. For a while there, some of the beings of darkness were using your own ancestors against you. It was hilarious. Part of the deal was getting the rights to be able to seal your family members so that you wouldn't have that problem anymore.
Yes. I'm having issues with that because my family is entirely dying off, and I wish to bring them back. And bringing some people back from the dead would definitely assist in that.
Why? They've lived their time. They would be outside of their time and space. Why not do what any
Depends
other
on which
family
ones.
does? Stop making new ones.
Bring in the outcasts.
You just see Azimuth kind of go pale for a moment.
You could make even more children. You could sit here and, I don't know, start an academy or something.
I think my brother's got a head start more on that than I do.
On what? Starting the academy?
No, the other one.
The next
Recruit, grow, and
generation.
multiply.
You see him just sip his tea, look down at the tea, then look back up at you. I guess you would have a point. You would know more than I would.
Yeah.
So, what do we need to go
Why are they interested in an
through
academy?
the border?
I feel that that's a suggestion by someone of the Fae.
No. But it might be beneficial for you. If you start an academy, you don't have to worry about that messy thing of if the family dies. But then you have to worry about if somebody infiltrates or somebody goes to become a monster and then knows all of your guys' secrets.
I was researching the possibility of that too, because we need to increase more. So we're in the same goals. At least that's a positive situation with this. I will admit I am not sure how this will work, and I've just met you, and this is a large role to fill, and I do not yet trust you entirely. But I see that our goals align at least.
Well, if you end up deciding to make such a school, just tell me, and I might be able to get you some resources. It wouldn't be the first school I've helped make in my time.
Curious. Any reason on the interest?
I like the spreading of knowledge.
Fair. That's the same thing that I want to do. I
Well-
feel that an era of monster hunters is going to be snuffed out, and that information's useful. Not all monsters are evil.
Yes, and leaving it in the hands of the church means that it becomes weaponized against the wrong people sometimes. Checks and balances are always good.
I look at the rest of the party. You all know that.
Yeah.
And having that knowledge dispersed may help people recognize their gifts much
Yes.
sooner than otherwise. Because
Yes.
there may be lines of power and knowledge other than with the Belmonts that may need to be seen and nurtured.
Mhm.
Well, there may be a magic institute that I started up a couple hundred years ago or so, like 300 or 400. You know, before my father died. So probably closer to 800. Huh, I hope that institute's still going.
Yeah,
What's the name?
because
It's
my grandfather
Hmm?
was in his adventuring era a couple hundred years ago at the most recent, so it has to be further than that.
Yeah. When my father was still alive, I took interest in trying to cultivate a new kind of age and kingdom of mages. But names of countries and institutes change all the time. I doubt it would still have the same name, let alone the same building. They started out in an orphanage. Little orphans, and the headmaster just so happened to be a little kobold. Biggest joke of the entire thing.
We need to figure out how we're going to get into the Fey realm to do what we need to do.
Well, usually you'd need some sort of magic that would allow you to shift between planes, especially at the borderlines. But being you have a lunar draconian, he could enter himself. But you require some sort of added bonus to get in and out with the rest of your group.
Yeah. I was honestly about to consider just going in and seeing if we could slip by the rest of the incursion and use whatever the method they're getting in here with, because they're using lesser doppelgangers here. Unless they're making them here, they're coming from the Feywild. Therefore, there should be something that allows us to move through.
They might have a gate up, or they might be using a similar method as to having a tether that can sit here and help drag people between realms. The ability that most Lunar Draconians have just so happens to have been something that we have ourselves, to where we can shift between the in-betweens.
Yes, I do have that.
It's why we like mirrors, doorways, the spot underneath the bed. It's fun to scare people sometimes. Even all the way down to, I don't know, the reflection of the moon and water. Speaking of, that does strike up something in my memory. There's a small pond in the woods with a small lunar stone above it. It's not strong enough to do the rite, but it is strong enough to potentially be used as a gateway. Perhaps they are using this pond to come in and out.
That would be a large enough area we might be able to sneak up to and use anyways. Worth looking into.
Is there anything else I can help you all with?
No, this has been extremely informational. I appreciate it.
Very good. I will leave you guys to your planning and continue to enjoy some of these stories that the old man wrote. I miss him telling them to me. It was fun.
I'm glad I just found these the other day. But I haven't been in this house since I was a boy.
Well, technically it is your family's.
Yep. If things come out alright, it's gonna be home.
I take it you're going to leave your group then, or going to use this as a base of operations?
I'll use this as a base of operations. During downtime, I may come here.
You see him kind of rub his chin in thought. Okay. Okay. That would be most interesting, yes. I might have to stop by for tea here and there.
Or wine, or juices.
Oh, I know this lovely brewer, if they're still doing it, over in the Feywild. Best wine on our side of the gates.
Nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like the three of us need to talk for a while.
Yes. If you need anything, just ask. And he goes back to slowly reading through the book. And with that, we can pause for a break.
Sounds like a plan.
We'll be
Yep.
right back in 10 to 15 minutes. See you guys soon.
See ya.
See ya.
See you guys.